Hi, my name is Adela, and I am a branding and strategy consultant specializing in creative and passion driven businesses. Today, I'm going to talk to you about 7 things you should be considering when coming up with your brand or product name. Well, Shakespeare said, "What's in a name?" But I actually think there's a lot in a name. The name is the first thing the customer is going to be in contact with, and the first thing they're going to be noticing about you. So, coming up with a great name for your brand or product is the first step towards success. While you're brainstorming to try and find the perfect name, there are a few things you should be considering. Number one, ownership. This is something that a lot of people don't think about. Try to fast forward to the future, 10, 20 years from now. Do you still see yourself as the sole owner of this business? Or maybe is your goal to build it up into something that you can sell and turn a profit on? For many of us, the go-to name is our own name, which is great, and it makes a lot of sense for a lot of businesses such as designers, fashion labels, hairdressers, or coaches, etc. But you need to be careful because then your name becomes a brand, right? It has happened before in fashion, particularly, that a person is using their name as a brand and this brand grows and gets acquired by a company, and then you become an employee. In very rare occasions, you could be pushed out of this brand and you lose your name. And your name should stay yours, right? If you're not sure how you want your business to develop, if you're not sure if you want to be doing this for the long run, then I would suggest to come up with a brand name that it's not necessarily your name, and then link this to your name, and then your name still stays yours. So for example, your brand could be X by blah 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 blah. The second one is spelling and pronunciation. Even if you are planning a physical brick and mortar business model, odds are you're still going to have to use online for promotion, social media, a lot of things. If your brand has a name which is difficult to spell or to pronounce, it's going to be more complicated for you to make this brand known, especially if the spelling is similar to somebody in a similar activity. If you find a name that you really like, but the correct pronunciation is spelled difficultly, I would suggest you considering changing the spelling a little bit just to make it easier for customers to find you. Number three, this is quite an obvious one, is copyright. When you're brainstorming on ideas for names for your brand or your business, the first thing you should do is to check if somebody already came up with this name, because there's very little things that can bump you up the most than start visualizing your brand and what the logo is going to be and how are you going to write it here and there, and then you go and you realize that somebody in the other side of the world already came up with this idea. Easiest way to do this is you can go to any domain buying website and check for your brandname.com. See if it's already available or if it already exists. And if it already exists, go and check that website out. Sometimes a website name is not available, not because the brand already exists, but because somebody thought this was going to be a cool name eventually and they bought the domain, and then you can buy it from them. The best thing is to come up with a bunch of names that you really like, and then you can check them out. Number four, meaning. Now, especially since the internet exists and we are all connected globally, it's very important that you make sure that the name that you've chosen doesn't mean anything rude or offensive in other languages. And there's like a lot of languages out there. There's a few very famous cases where brands have to change the name of the product because it was generating problems in some of the countries that they were selling this. For example, in Spain, where I come from, the Mitsubishi Pajero is called Montero because Pajero is a very rude word. Also, Moana, the Disney movie, in several countries of Europe, it's called Vaiana because Moana is an adult film actress, quite known in Europe apparently. Number 5 is longevity. Well, I am assuming you're trying to build this business to be sustainable in the long run, right? So even if these are very impactful, try avoiding slang in your brand name, try avoiding pop culture references in your brand name, because these are elements of the language who tend to evolve very fast. So in just a few years, it's going to sound dated. You still should be aware of things like pop culture and slang if you want to sound relevant in your communications with the client, in your website or in social media, etc., especially if you're targeting a younger demographic. But your brand name is supposed to stay with you throughout the history of your business. So better to find something that can be a little bit more permanent. Number 6 is usage. Now, depending on your business activity, depending on your product, you're gonna have to be using your name in different ways. Are you selling rings? Or are you selling houses? Is your name gonna have to be printed in huge billboards or in tiny labels attached to a garment? You should think about this, and you should think about the different formats that you're gonna have to be using your name in. If, for example, your name is very long and you're gonna have to do an embroidery in the chest, for example, on a t-shirt, maybe try to find a logo that can also represent it, some initials, things like this. Another thing to consider, although this is more relevant to logo design than the name itself, especially for fashion businesses, for clothing or accessories, how is this going to be transferred into the product? Is this going to be printed? How fine can the print be? Is this going to be embroidered? Is this going to be, engraved in the metal? Because different materials have different limitations, and it might be getting a little bit ahead of yourself, but it's a good thing to think about. And then finally, emotional value. So when you are building the profile of your brand, you're going to be thinking about the name, sure, but you should also be thinking about the basis of this brand. You should be thinking about your mission, you should be thinking about your vision, you should be thinking about your values, you should be thinking about who's your customer, you should be thinking about your purpose. And all of these elements that support your brand should be in sync. They should be all talking the same message. This includes your name. If your brand is all about positivity and being optimistic and fun, then maybe you want to bring some of that inspiration into your name as well and find words that either mean or sound happy. I know this might seem like a lot of information right now, like a lot of restrictions, but once you start getting to it, you'll see it's actually quite easy. The first thing you should do is brainstorm, right? Start thinking about name ideas and write as many as you can. Call a friend over and start thinking together. Come up with 10, 15, 20 names that you think can work, small variations of the same name, and then pass them through these filters. Start ruling off options that don't work for your business, or that they're already taken, or they are difficult to spell, and then what it will remain, it will be your ideal name. So the name of my business, of my consultancy, is Alonso, which is actually my surnames. I come from Spain, and in Spain we all have two surnames, and mine actually happen to be the same, because we get one surname from our dad and one surname from our mom, and my dad and my mom happen to have the same surname. Everywhere I have traveled to, and in every single meeting I've been to, people had always found this very funny, especially because Alonso is quite a common surname, thanks to Fernando and Xavi Alonso. Plus, I think it has a nice ring to it, don't you think? I would love to know, how did you come up with the idea for the name of your business? So please let me know in the comments. I hope this made sense and you find this video useful. If you have any questions, please write them in the comments or reach out to me through any of our social media channels, and I will be more than happy to reply you. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And remember, we're going to be publishing a new video every Thursday. So if you don't want to miss it, make sure to subscribe and to click on the bell so you will receive the notifications. Thank you once again for watching, and see you next week.